In this video, we're going to review how to find area and perimeter of rectangles, circles, and triangles. So first, this is notes. Let's remind ourselves what area and perimeter are. So area is the space inside a two-dimensional shape. So if we have a rectangle, the area is going to be all the stuff on the inside. And we usually count it by counting how many squares would be in it, which is why we talk about it in square units. So this one is a 4 by 8, which means it has 32 squares on the inside, which would mean that it is 32 units squared. Perimeter is the distance around the outside of a shape, and we measure that in one-dimensional measurements, so just what we're used to, inches, meters, yards. They're not squared. So if we say this is the same rectangle as before, a 4 by 8, then to find the perimeter, we would just add up all the measurements around the outside, which would be 24 units, not units squared. All right, so now you're going to make a table where we're going to record the formulas for rectangles, triangles, and circles. So copy this table, and we'll do rectangle together, and then I'm going to have you try and do triangle and circle. So the rectangle, for measurement vocabulary, we need to know that the width and the length are how we measure a rectangle. So then we can use W for width and L for length. So then our perimeter formula would be 2W plus 2L. Because if you take the length and double it, and you take the width and double it, and add them together, that'll give you the perimeter. And then area is just length times width. Now you try and do it for triangles and circles. See how much you can remember from last year. All right, so when we talk about a triangle, we need to know the height and the base. So the height and the base, the important thing to know is that they're always at a right angle to each other. Base doesn't necessarily have to be at the bottom, but they do have to make a right angle. Sometimes if the height is one of the sides, in this case the height goes down the middle of the triangle. So I'm going to use H to represent height, and I'm going to use B to represent the base. So my area formula is going to be base times height divided by 2. Now for perimeter, I also need to know these two side lengths. So often we find that people give them different names. So they would call them side 1, I'll say S1, S2 or side 2, and S3 side 3. So the perimeter would be S1 plus S2 plus S3. Finally, on a circle, there are two main measurements we need to look at. First, you have the length from the center of a circle to the edge, and that is called the radius. And then you have the full distance across the circle, which is usually done with the letter D for diameter. And then it's also important to note that the perimeter is often referred to as the circumference of a circle, and area is just area. So make sure you write down the word circumference, C-I-R-C-U-M-F-E-R-E-N-C-E, and then there's two different formulas for the circumference of a circle. You can do 2 times radius times pi, or you can do the diameter times pi. And it should make sense that they both work since 2 times the radius is the diameter, since radius only goes halfway across. Then for area, we need pi times r squared, which is the same as saying pi times r times r. All right, so now let's try it. Okay, so here is a rectangle, a triangle, and a circle. Pause this video now and find the area and perimeter of each of our shapes. All right, so let's start with area of the rectangle. So we know that area is length times width. I encourage you to always start by writing out the formula you're using. It's a great way to show your work. So then area equals 11 times 5. So area equals 55 units squared. Then let's do the perimeter for this shape. So perimeter is 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. So 2 times 11 plus 2 times 5. 22 plus 10 is 32 units. Now for the triangle, this is the trickiest one because you have to decide which sides to use. So we need a base and a height, and in order to have that, we need two sides that make a right angle. So that would be the 20 and the 9. The 10 and the 7 are tempting, but it isn't marked as a right angle, so we don't know that it's a right angle. So we're going to do area equals base times height divided by 2. So that's going to be 20 times 9 divided by 2, which is going to give me 90 units squared. And then for a perimeter, that's going to use the outside edges. So I'm going to do 10 plus 20 plus 17, which will be 47 units. Finally, for the circle, for perimeter, since I was given the radius, I'm going to use the formula 2 times r times pi. So that's going to be 2 times 5 times 3.14. So that would give me 31.4 approximately. That's an estimation because I've approximated pi. And then for area, I'm going to need to do r squared times pi. So r squared is 5 squared, which is 25 times pi. And I can't do 3.14 times 25 in my head, so I'll do it out. 5 times 4 is 20. Put down the 0, carry the 2. 5 times 1 is 5, 6, 7. 5 times 3 is 15. 2, I'll put in a placeholder 0. 2 times 4 is 8. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 3 is 6. And then I add 15, carry the 1, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then since I moved the decimal place over twice, I moved the decimal place over twice here. So my area is approximately 78.5 of each. Okay, so now it's time for the problem set. So here are 3 more figures. you need to find the area and perimeter of each one.